Awesome. Okay. So I just uploaded the sign-in sheet. And please, everyone sign in because at the end, everyone will be receiving a
Can you guys actually see it?
copy of the PowerPoint.
You guys sit all in this area. I just want y'all to see it.
All right. Let's begin. All right. Thanks everybody for joining me. I just need a couple more seconds and then we will get this show on the road. All right. Thanks for joining me, everybody. My name is Luis Seañez and I am the Career Pathways Coordinator at Options for Youth. And aside from that, I am also a financial advisor as my second job. So today we're going to talk about 4 important concepts. First, I'll go over taxes. Then we'll go over saving, credit building, and then lastly, we might not have enough time for it, which is investing, and we might have to save that for a second portion. So let's get started, okay? The hot topic that everyone wants to know about is taxes. So this is a copy of my pay stub, and I know there's a lot of numbers on here, but just try to pay attention to the highlighted portions. So this pay period was from July 16th until July 29th. So that's 2 weeks. And right here, if you take a look, it says gross pay $105.12. Okay. Gross pay, what does that mean? It means the money that you earn before taxes are taken out. Okay. If you look over here to the right, $89.61, this is net pay. Net pay signifies that this is what you will be paid after taxes have been taken out. Now, YTD is an abbreviation for year to date. This is how much I have been paid up until this point for 2022. Okay. Next most important thing on this check stub is the taxes. It gives you a breakdown of what taxes you are paying. So as you can see, we are paying $6.52 of Social Security, $1.52 of Medicare, and $1.16 in California state tax. In total, I paid $9.20 for this paycheck. Okay, and then a few other important things on this is post-tax deductions, right? This means that if you take a piece of your paycheck and you put it into your retirement plan, which most companies offer a 401k, it'll show it on your check stub, the deduction. So right here, $6.31 is being taken out every paycheck and going towards that 401k. Now, if you are putting money into a 401k, then your employer will be matching, right? They're putting free money into your retirement. For every $6.31 that I am investing, they are investing $2.63. Okay, and then the last portion right here at the bottom, obviously it'll have your bank account and then your total net pay, which again is $89.61. So as you can tell, guys, I'm rich. Okay. Next portion, right? What is a W-4, right? A W-4 is an IRS form that everybody has to fill out when they start working for an employer. So just to give you guys a representation of what that looks like, I'm going to show you guys what a W-4 looks like. Okay, this is a W-4. Very simple. At the very top, you will fill in your first and last name, followed by your address, your social security number, and your tax filing status. Now, this is very important. If you are single and not married and filing your taxes single, then you will check it off right here. On the contrary, if you are married and filing your taxes together, right, then you would check the box here if you're filing your taxes with your spouse. However, if you are married and you decide that you want to keep your taxes separate from your spouse, then you would check this box because you are married but filing separately. And then the last box is if you are head of the household. If you are the main breadwinner at your house and you have dependents such as taking care of children or family members, then you would click off that box as head of household. But the vast majority of you will be 18, will be graduating, and you will fall under this category, single. Okay, the next few portions, right? These are more along the lines of if you work multiple jobs or have a spouse that works, the government wants to know about it. In addition to that, this third portion is about dependents. Like I said, if you have a family member that you take care of, or if you have numerous children at home.
Because you get credit for your attendance.
Thank you. So the government wants to know about any dependents or any deductions that they need to make on your account. So for this W form, you will sign it and date it at the very end. So everybody, you at some point will have to fill out a W-4 form for your next employer. So going back to the presentation. Okay, so that was a W-4. Let's take a look at a breakdown of a paycheck. So let's say you work 40 hours a week at $16 an hour. This is your semi-monthly take-home pay. So semi means half. So that means every 2 weeks, if you work 40 hours at $16 an hour, you will earn $536. Now this number is your net pay. What is net pay? It's the money you earn after taxes are taken out. And at any point in time, please feel free to, ask any questions or feel free to unmute yourself. And Isabel, just to answer your question, yeah, you do have to fill out a W-4 for every job that you do. Unless it's like a cash-based job, then there's no need. But if you work for like a major corporation like Target, for example, absolutely, this is a requirement. So the breakdown again. So your gross pay is $640. And here are the taxes that you are paying on the paycheck, right? You have to pay federal taxes, state taxes, and that's about somewhere along the lines of 15%, 15 to 16%. So overall, your semi-monthly take-home pay is $536. Your monthly take-home pay is about $1,072. So two things you're always guaranteed in life: death and taxes. Okay, so next slide. So kind of like I mentioned on a W-4 form, there are different tax filing statuses, right? The first one is single filers. Then we have married, filing jointly. This is where you and your spouse decide to combine your taxes and do them together. Third, if you are married but filing separately, that's totally okay. Some people decide that their money is their money, my money is my money, and they want to keep it separate. And then lastly, head of household. So let's take a look at these different tax filing statuses. Okay, this is the single filer's tax status. These are the tax brackets for the year 2022. Tax laws change every year constantly. Depends who's the president, what type of administration we have, what's going on in Congress. So these do tend to change over time. And let's take a look at the tax brackets. So here they are on the left column, and they start from 10, 12, 22, 24, and all the way down to 37%, right? If you are on the highest tax bracket, if you make over $500 and about $40,000, okay? So this is only for single filers. For the sake of time, I'm only going to show you the single and married. This is if you are married and filing your taxes together with your spouse. As you can see, the quantities have increased because you have two dual incomes combined. So therefore, just as an example, you would pay 12% for any income falling in this range. Okay, so I know this can be a bit confusing, but one thing that you need to remember is that we use a progressive tax system. And in the next example, I'll show you what that means, a progressive tax system. Okay, so let's say, for example, I made $50,000. Okay, I am filing single. How much taxes do I owe? Okay, and remember, if you make $50,000 as a single person, you are on this tax bracket, 22, because you fall in within this range between 41 and 89. So there's a misconception that people think about taxes is people assume that I'm on the 22% tax bracket, so I'll just multiply that by 50,000 and there you go. That's wrong. We use a progressive tax system. So referring back to this page over here, if you make $50,000, right, you have to pay $4,807.50 in addition to 22% of the amount over 41,775, right? What does that mean? Okay. If you make $50,000, you are on the 22% tax bracket. Okay. So that means you have to pay this sum of money, $4,807.50, and 22% of the money over 41,775. So once we do that calculation, we arrive at $6,617. Okay. Those are the total amount of taxes that you owe, right? It's a lot less than 11,000, right? That's because we use a progressive tax system. So for the sake of time, this is only federal taxes. I have not included state taxes as well. And if you do own a home, then you do have to pay property taxes as well. But that's for another presentation. So this is an example of how our progressive tax system works. The reason I show people this example is because there's often a misconception about people wanting to make more money. They often think, oh, if I take that bonus at work or if I work too much, I'll get pushed into another tax bracket. Well, honestly, that's absolutely fine because you're only going to have to pay taxes in the next tax bracket for the money that you made over the limit. So, you know, if you're right near the border or the limit getting pushed into the next bracket, that's totally fine because you're only going to have to pay taxes on the money that goes above the limit for the next bracket. So I know that can be a little confusing. Does anybody have any questions about this? Anybody? Okay, awesome. I'll move on. All right, let's talk about saving. Okay, why is it important to start saving? Okay, first and foremost, inflation. Okay, inflation already is at 9.1% this year. What does inflation mean? It basically means that the purchasing power of your dollar is decreasing every day as it goes on. I'm sure everyone has seen the prices of gas, right? They've nearly doubled in price in about a year. You know, the price of, a basket of groceries has, increased dramatically, since we've been suffering this, this dramatic rate of inflation. So inflation, that's a huge reason why you should start saving. Another reason, 95% of Americans retire broke at 65. Also, about 40% of Americans spend up to half their monthly income on debt payments. In addition to that, 40 million students owe 1.4 trillion in student loans, and 30% of them are past due. Okay, and this is an important one right here. $12 trillion is getting 0 to 0.5%, while the S&P 500 has averaged 17% over the last 10 years. What does this mean? It basically means that about $12 trillion is just sitting in people's bank accounts, not really earning any interest at all. Your bank might pay you 0.02% interest on a savings account. And that money is not working hard for you. It's not positioned correctly to make more money. It's positioned to decrease in value. Why? Because of inflation. You lose the purchasing power of your dollars as days goes by when it's positioned into like a savings account that earns very little. as opposed to investing it in the S&P 500, for example, which has averaged 17%. I will get to this later, the investing part, but this is just a very important topic for everyone to, to be exposed to. Okay. And then lastly, right? If you don't plan to fail, then you are failing to plan. Okay. Very important. Okay. If you want to succeed and have financial freedom, everybody needs 3 fundamental accounts. Okay. The first most important account is an emergency account. Okay. Everybody should have at least up to 3 months worth of expenses into an emergency account. Okay. So if your monthly expenses are, for example, $1,000, and let's say that includes rent, utilities, food, clothing, subscriptions, and all your necessities. Okay. That means you need to have $3,000 in your emergency account at all times, just in case there is an emergency that you had no clue was going to be dropped onto your lap. And, as an adult, it happens all the time. You need to pay for, you got a flat tire, you're having car problems, medical expenses, you need tuition for school. It's very important and very crucial that you have an emergency account with 3 months worth of expenses in there, so you do not have to get into debt to sustain your lifestyle. That's one thing you should always avoid. You should never have to borrow money to maintain your lifestyle. Okay. Number 2, you should have a short-term account. This account is more focused on saving up to accomplish a financial goal of yours. Like, for example, some of my financial goals are to own a home and possibly, buy a new car. So you definitely need to set some money aside for that goal. Okay. And then the third most important account is a wealth building account. An example of a wealth building account would be like a 401k, a retirement account, a Roth IRA. Okay. These are long-term accounts. This is money that you will be contributing to a retirement account, over the length of your career, over your lifetime, which you should be saving towards your retirement, which retirement age is somewhere around 65 and 67. So in order to have financial freedom and financial liberty, you need to have 3 fundamental accounts. Any questions about this? Okay, awesome. Okay, let's talk about credit for a sec. Okay, how is credit measured? Okay, it's measured by 5 different aspects. Okay, number 1, your payment history. How often have you been making your payments, right? That's the most important. 35% of your credit is made up of that. Okay, number 2, how much is owed, right? The balance of your credit card will determine your credit score. Okay. Third, the length of credit history, right? Creditors want to know how long have you had your credit card accounts open, right? That also plays a role in shaping your credit score. Okay. Number 4 is your credit mix. What kinds of credits or lines of credits do you have? Do you have home loans, car loans, credit cards, student debt? That all matters. Having a mix of different types of loans will increase your score. And then lastly, new credit. How often are you applying for a new credit card or a new loan, right? So these 5 things make up your credit score. So let's take a look. What is a credit bureau and who measures it, right? A credit bureau is a company that collects information relating to the credit ratings of individuals and makes it available to credit card companies, financial institutions, right? There are 3 main credit bureaus, which are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, right? Why am I bringing this up? If you ever go to apply for a credit card, a home loan, or to buy a car and file for an auto loan, they will look up your credit and they will look it up under these 3 agencies, and the report will come back with your credit score. So these are the people that are measuring, or the companies, I should say, that are measuring your credit score, or should I say your FICO score, FICO. Okay, how to build credit. Okay, first most important thing on how to build your credit, right? Never spend more than 30% of your credit card limit. Okay, let's say, for example, that you have a credit card limit with $1,000. Okay, 30% of that credit card limit would be $300. Okay. So you never want to spend or go over $300 if you have $1,000 credit card limit. As soon as you go over 30%, that's when your credit score starts decreasing. So if you are able to keep it under 30%, your credit score will increase. Okay. Second, always avoid missing payments, right? It's super easy to set reminders on your phone, a monthly reminder just to remind you a few days before to make sure to make your credit card payment. Please avoid missing payments. That looks really bad on your credit history, and you should avoid that at all times. Okay. Third, never close a credit card account. Okay, this is very important because remember that your credit is measured also by your length of credit history. So if your credit cards were only active for a short amount of time, right, that's going to lower your credit score. And what it also tells the credit bureaus is it's like a psychological thing. People usually close credit cards when they feel that they are irresponsible, or they feel that they, have bad habits and don't trust themselves. So they end up closing those credit card accounts. That sends that signal to the credit bureaus. And unfortunately, it actually lowers your credit score. Okay. So fourth most important, avoid minimum payments. Okay. Let's say, for example, I made a purchase with my credit card for $100 and I get the bill at the end of the month. Okay. My statement balance will be $100, but the minimum payment would only be, for example, like $25. You should avoid paying the minimum payments at all times. If you can pay the entire amount, that's what I encourage you to do. Unfortunately, paying minimum payments will lower your credit score. So please avoid that at all times. Okay. Number 5, do not ever max out your credit card. Let's say you have a credit card balance of $1,000. If you spend $1,000 and you hit your limit, your credit score actually drops 45 points. So this piggybacks on point number 1, never spend more than 30% of your credit card limit. Okay. Number 6, number 5, this one also piggybacks on avoid missing payments, right? Always pay on time, right? You always want to have a perfect credit record. Your social security card and your credit score are more important than all the money you have in the bank. Okay. Lastly, live within your means and pay your debts. Okay. What does this mean? It means that, right, if you have, X amount of money, that means you can only have that amount of fun. Okay. If you have this amount of money, you cannot have that amount of fun. Okay. You have to be able to live within your means, right? You have to be very frugal with your money. Be careful about what kind of car you purchase. Be careful about what kind of the purchases that you make. If you're spending your money kind of recklessly on things that have no return on them, then you're going to have to borrow money to maintain your lifestyle. And that's what we always want to avoid. The goal is to accomplish financial freedom. Okay. So I will be sending this PowerPoint to everyone. So don't forget, don't stress about writing anything down. I will be sending this to everyone. Any questions about this? Awesome. Okay. Where should I bank? Okay. So I have actually been a personal banker. I've had a lot of experiences with banks and credit unions. And in my honest opinion, I recommend everybody bank at their local credit union. Okay. For a few reasons, right? The first reason is you definitely get a more personal relationship with your bankers and with the credit union. I honestly feel like when you go in there, you're not necessarily just a number to them, but it has more of like a family oriented kind of feeling every time I go into the credit union. And there are credit unions, everywhere all over SoCal. Personally, I go to SE Credit Union and they're great. I haven't had any problems with them. First Schools Credit Union is also great. So you definitely get like a better personal relationship with the people that are, handling your money. Second, they offer better rates on almost every financial product that they have. The credit card rates are cheaper. The interest rate on loans are way better than their competitors if you're trying to refinance like a home or auto loan. And you know, in addition to that, even the overdraft fees are a lot cheaper than like the name brand banks. Okay. Number 3, no account fees. Okay, what does this mean? Most credit unions, right, they don't have account fees. So my credit union, for example, I just have to have $5 in my savings account, and my checking and savings account are absolutely free as long as I have those $5 in there. As compared to my my Chase account, on the contrary, I have to have a certain amount of money in my account at all times. And if I do not, then they will start charging me an account fee every month. Okay, so that's really big, right? Credit unions, they don't charge account fees, right? All you have to do, you know, have very little money in your savings account, and it's absolutely free. So, 4th most important, no ATM fees. Okay. The credit unions are part of this agreement where if you have a credit card, if you have a debit card from a credit union, you can go to any 7-Eleven and you can pull out cash and you will pay no ATM fees whatsoever. Okay. I have a Chase bank account. I can only pull money out from a Chase, right? If I go anywhere else to a Wells Fargo, a Bank of America, or an ATM, I'm going to be charged ATM fees, you know, and they've been getting pretty expensive lately. As compared to my credit union, right? My credit union, they're not everywhere, but you know what is everywhere? 7-Elevens. All I have to do is waltz into a 7-Eleven, take out cash, and I pay no ATM transaction fees at all. Okay. And then my last point, right? If you would like to refinance your home loan or your auto loan, your credit union is the way to go. Okay. If you're deciding soon that you want to buy a car from a dealer, make sure that you take a trip to your local credit union first and see if you can get pre-approved. You know, most of the time they will offer you an interest rate better than what your dealership will offer. For example, I bought a car a few years ago, and the dealership was going to offer me like a 6 or 7% loan. And I ended up going to my credit union and I got pre-approved, and they ended up approving me for about 3.5%. So I was able to cut my interest rate in half just by going into my credit union and seeing what they could offer me. So I highly suggest, if you are looking to open up a bank account and you are 18, take a trip to your local credit union, because I genuinely believe that they will show you more love than any bank ever will. And take that from me, from someone who has worked as a personal banker for Wells Fargo. They're not necessarily always in your best interest. But I honestly feel like the credit unions, they do offer a lot more support. Okay, next. Okay, so far, does anybody have any questions about the topics that I went over? Nothing? All right. Let's talk about some stocks then. Okay, what is a stock? Okay, a stock is known as an equity. It is a security that represents the ownership of a corporation. Okay, what does this mean? Let's say I own a company, and I represent my company in the shape of like a pizza or a pie. Okay, every slice of pizza represents a piece of my company. So every slice of pizza or pie can be called a share, right? Shares is just a synonym for a stock, right? So every time I own a share, that represents an ownership of a corporation. Okay. What is the market? Okay. This is very important. A market is a place where two parties, usually buyers and sellers, can gather to exchange goods and services. Okay, what's an example of a market? A stock market, a farmer's market, right? An e-commerce market, real estate market, a job market, right? When you go to the mall, right, you are the buyer and the stores are the sellers. It is where you go to exchange goods and services for money. Okay. Next, what is investing? Okay. The act of owning an asset or an item with the goal of generating income from the investment, or the increase in value of the asset over a period of time. Okay. If you invest in something, you are hoping to generate an income from it. Like, for example, if you decide to open your own restaurant, right? You put money into opening the restaurant and with the hopes of generating income from the sales. Okay. Or let's say you invest your money into stocks. What you're hoping is that the value of the stock increases over time, and then you plan on selling it to acquire your profit. Okay. Investing. What are some examples of investing or investments? Right? Stocks, mutual funds, bonds, real estate, which are homes. Right? CDs, options, investment trusts, commodities. And like I said earlier, restaurants are also an investment, right? So where are stocks traded? Okay, stocks are traded on stock exchanges. What are the three major stock exchanges? Right, they are the American Stock Exchange, the New York Stock Exchange, which is one of the most popular ones, and then the National Association of Securities Dealers, which is more commonly known as the NASDAQ. Okay. The New York Stock Exchange is located on the East Coast, and it is open from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. That means on the West Coast, it is only open from 6 a.m. to about 12:30 p.m. Okay. So let's take a look at an example of a stock. Okay. This was Tesla's stock price back on December 3rd. Okay. As you can see, every stock has what's called a ticker symbol. The ticker symbol for Tesla is TSLA, right? And then the stock exchange that it's traded on is called the NASDAQ. Okay. As you can see here that this stock has, performed very well, 26,000%. And just a small breakdown of its performance over the years, right? It was a gradual increase until 2020 when it just absolutely skyrocketed and went parabolic. Okay, so let's go further into that. Okay, I know there are a lot of numbers on this page, but just try to focus on the arrows. Okay, I'm going to talk about market cap or market capitalization. Right, what is that? Right, it basically means the value of a company that is traded on a stock market. Okay, so the stock price of Tesla is $1,025.85. Okay. As you can see here in this arrow right here, the market cap is 1 trillion, right? $1.041 trillion, right? I bet you're wondering, how did we arrive at that number? What you do is you basically take the share price and you multiply it by the shares outstanding or how many shares there are. And that's what you arrive at the market cap. So what is our share price, right? $1,025.85, right? How many shares do we have, right? In total, right now, we have about 1,014,800,000 shares times the share price, and you arrive at $1.041 trillion, okay? So at the time, on December 3rd, Tesla was worth $1.041 trillion as a company. Okay, market cap, very important. That determines the size of a company. Okay. All right. Now we're going to talk about market cycles. Okay, this is a representation of our economy. So this is a clock and it moves clockwise. Okay. Here at the top is the boom. Okay, this is when our economy is doing very well. This is when a lot of people are making a lot of money. Stock prices are high. Unemployment is low. People are very happy around this time. Okay. However, our economy works in cycles, right? So it moves clockwise. And eventually we will slip into a recession, right? Which is, kind of where we are currently right now. Okay. This is called the bust. Okay. This is when, unemployment is still kind of high. Stock prices are really low. People are really sad because, their stocks and their retirement accounts aren't performing too well. But don't forget, that's okay because our economy works in cycles. Okay, there is always and will be a recovery. So you have to move clockwise in this direction, and we will arrive at a boom once again. However, these cycles do occur every 7 to 15 years. Okay, if anyone can remember, the last recession we had was during COVID, right? During 2020, right? A lot of people were unemployed. A lot of people were not making much money. It was really tough time, right? So we had some really dark days. Before that, the last recession before that was in 2008. We had a housing crisis, okay? And then before that, in 2001, we had a recession right around the time when the terrorist attacks occurred. So like I said, these happen every 7 to 15 years, okay? This is very important to know because when your money is invested in the stock market and in a retirement account, okay, what happens is people often feel fear, and when there's a bust, they end up pulling money out of the stock market, and that's when they lose money. Okay, you have not lost any money in the stock market until you have sold. Okay, even though the stock price is down, right? Remember that there will be a recovery. Okay, so just take that into consideration, right? Our economy is capitalistic. It works in cycles, right? When I say capitalistic, that means that, people are not going to stop buying stuff. People love their 2-day shipping. People love, cheap prices and Amazon. There will always be a recovery, and it often happens fairly quickly. Okay, next. Going to talk about inflation. Okay, why is it important to invest and save your money? Well, because of inflation, right? It basically means that the purchasing power of your dollar is decreasing over time, right? When I was, I remember when I was really young, a bag of chips was about $1. The other day I went into the store and a bag of chips is about $2.50 now. That's because of inflation, right? Take a look at this example I have, right? This is the purchasing power of $1 from 1913 to 2017. As you can tell over the years, the power of the dollar has dramatically decreased. And in 2017, the dollar has lost about 96% of its total value, okay? In 2022, it's probably lost a lot more than its total value, okay? Very important, this very important concept. Inflation is already at about 9% this year. So that means a whole year ago, if you had $100, today it is only worth about $91. So inflation, very important concept. Okay. How can we combat inflation, right? How can we avoid it, right? By learning about this very important concept, which is called compound interest, right? Compound interest is the addition of interest to the principal sum of a loan or deposit, or in other words, interest on interest. Okay, what does this mean? Okay, when you put money into an investment, okay, the money you put in is called the principal, right? But any of the profits that you make is called interest. Okay, the interest that you collect from your investment, what you should do is you should be reinvesting it back into your investment. And then you will create what's called interest on interest. It will compound. I know this might be a little complicated at first, but let me show you an example of how compound interest works, okay? Einstein, right? Everybody's heard of Einstein. He said compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Okay, what this basically means is if you're irresponsible and you're reckless with credit cards and you're always making purchases that you don't necessarily need, right? You will pay compound interest to someone, right? Whoever you owe money to, whoever are your creditors. But if you understand this fundamental concept, you can accomplish compound interest and avoid suffering inflation. So let's take a look at an example so I can give you a better understanding of what that looks like. Okay. Let's say, for example, that you invest $300 a month into a retirement account at work, for example, like a 401k. Okay, let's say you did $300 a month. On average, mutual funds pay 10% profit annually on average. Okay, and let's say we left that money in an investment for 35 years. Okay, what would that look like? In 35 years, how much money would I have? As you can see in this representation here on the graph, in 35 years, you will have $975,000, right? It's almost $1 million, okay? If you take a look here, this blue line represents my contributions, the money that I put into this account, okay? The red line signifies the profit or the interest on interest, right? I only put $132,000 of my money, but look at how much this has grown and compounded, right? It's because you're making interest on interest. I highly encourage everyone to download a compound interest calculator on your phone. There are plenty of apps online, in the App Store, Google Play Store, or just online on your browser. Type in compound interest calculator and start typing in some numbers, right? Try to estimate how much money you would have. So I remember the other day, a student told me that they purchased, let's see. I had a student tell me the other day that they made a purchase. They bought some shoes for about, I think like $1,000. So let's take a look. Instead of buying a pair of shoes or buying a handbag or, you know, whatever's your guilty pleasure. Let's say you took $1,000, right? And let's say you invested that into a retirement account for 35 years, 10% profit. Okay. In 35 years, that $1,500, I'm sorry, that $1,000 investment in 35 years will be worth $28,000 if you had just invested it in the stock market. Like, for example, into your retirement account. So compound interest, right? It's one of the most powerful forces in the universe. This line right here, the blue line, represents my contributions, the $1,000, but look at all this profit you make. Okay. The reason I show this to you is because if you position money correctly, it will always make more money, right? If you position your money into an investment so it can compound and earn interest, right? You are positioning your money to work hard for you, and you're basically making money in your sleep. But if you position money incorrectly, right, it's gonna depreciate. You're gonna lose value because of inflation, right? What are some examples of positioning your money incorrectly? Leave it in a savings account, right? Or buying items that you don't necessarily need. Okay, Kat, good question, right? Why are people afraid to invest in the stock market? That's a good question, right? People are afraid to invest in the stock market because they hear a lot from the media and from other people that, you know, something happened in the news and they lost all their money or it went down in value. So, you know, that is true. That does happen, especially when people are investing in individual stocks. Like, for example, like Nike or Tesla or Starbucks, for example. But that's putting all your eggs in one basket. That's taking a lot of risk, especially with like cryptocurrencies, right? Those are really popular right now, but those are probably some of the riskiest and most volatile investments I have ever seen, right? That's putting your eggs all in one basket. What you want to do, right, is put your eggs into multiple baskets. And that brings up my next point, right? Right? What is a mutual fund, right? Mutual fund. How about I show you this example next? Okay. An example of a mutual fund, okay? For example, every day people like you and I, we mutually put our money together, and what we do is we give it to a fund manager, right? These fund managers are expert investors, right? They decide what to put into the mutual fund. So investors like you and I, we collectively put our money together into this pool, right? Then the fund managers, they decide what stocks to put into the fund, right? The fund managers drive or they fly out to like to meet the board of executives of like Apple and Google, and they sit down with them and they look over their numbers, and the fund managers decide, oh, okay, this is a very profitable company. this is a great company and, they survive recessions. I'm going to put them into my fund. Okay. If you take a look at the different companies that are in this mutual fund, okay, you have Apple, Microsoft, Google, right? Those are tech stocks, right? But then we also have Wells Fargo, Visa, Bank of America. That's finance. Okay. We have Nestle, Coca-Cola, which is retail, right? Then we have, right, Home Depot, more along the lines of like consumer goods. So we have tech, we have finance, retail. These are all different sectors of the economy. There's like I said, there's like oil. I see we have Shell, Chevron, and Exxon, right? So that's oil and petroleum, right? We have tech, we have finance, right? These are all different sectors of the economy. Our money is not invested into one basket. It's being invested into multiple baskets. And that's what's called being diversified. So back to Kat's question, right? Why are people afraid to invest? It's because they are not investing in diversified investments. They're throwing all their eggs into one basket, right? Mutual funds, right? This is what everybody's 401k and everybody's IRAs are invested in some type of mutual fund. So again, right, we collectively put our money together. The fund managers decide what stocks to put into their fund, right? This is being diversified, right? And if one sector in the economy isn't performing too well, that's okay, right? Because your money is invested in multiple baskets. And once people understand compound interest, and once they understand diversification and mutual funds, right, they become less risk averse, or how should I say, they become less scared of investing. They become less scared of the stock market, right? Once you understand that there are diversified investments, right, on the market, things that you can invest your money into that are a lot safer than cryptocurrencies, then people become more comfortable with investing. And they soon realize that, hey, I should definitely be saving up to buy a house, or saving up to buy, saving up for my retirement. So I know we only got a little bit of time, but I want to save like these last 5 minutes for any questions that anybody has about any of the topics that I just went over. Would anybody like me to go over anything? Go ahead and drop it in the chat box if you'd like. I definitely plan on having this, maybe once a month or every couple of months, for everybody that didn't get to participate. I did record this and I will be posting it to my YouTube channel if you would like to show it to any other students who missed it. But other than that, please make sure that you sign into the sign-in sheet, and I will be sending a copy of this PowerPoint to everyone. So please make sure to sign into the sign-in sheet. And if you don't have any other questions, then I think I'm going to end it right there.